back to my YouTube channel. Please, if you're seeing this video and you're not subscribed to my channel yet, please kindly hit the subscribe button, and if you find this video useful at the end, kindly give it a thumbs up and also leave a comment below. So today we'll be making a simple A-line dress with yoke at the top. A simple A-line dress with yoke at the top. Without wasting much time, let's jump right into the tutorial. So the materials we'll be needing for this tutorial, I have my fabric here, 2 yards of Ankara fabric. I have this other fabric here that I'll be using as the yoke at the top. I have my armhole curve, my hip curve, my ruler, my scissors, my chalk, my tape rule. Then I also have this lace fabric that I want to use as a design on the dress. And also our dress will be having pockets on both sides. So without wasting much time, let's jump right into the. So welcome back, guys. So I have my fabric folded into 2 already. The front panel folded into 2 and the back panel folded into 2. So I folded my fabric using the biggest part of my body, which is my hip measurement. My hip measurement is 46 inches divided by 4. That is 11.5 inches. So because it's going to be an A-line dress, I added 3 extra inch to 11.5. That is 14.5 inches. So right here, I have 15 inches on fold. I have 15 inches on fold, as you can see. So my back panel is 1 inch bigger than my front panel because I'm going to be having zip at the back. So I added 1 inch extra to it. The length of my dress is 38 inches, but I added 2 extra inch for folding at the base and also joining the shoulders at the top. So I have a length of 40 inches here. I have full length of 40 inches here. So my shoulder measurement is 16 inches. 16 inches divided by 2 is 8 inches. But since it's going to be an armless dress, I'm going to be taking out 1 inch. So that is 7 inches. So I'll mark my 7 inches here. So my armhole measurement is 18 inches. 18 inches divided by 2 is 9 inches. But since it's an armless dress also, I'll be taking off 1 inch. So that is 8 inches. So I'll come down by 8 inches from my shoulder measurement. So I have my 8 inches marked here. So I'll draw a straight line down. So also extends the shoulder measurements. So from this shoulder measurement 8 inches, I'll draw a straight line to meet the armhole measurements. So I'll look for the midpoint of this armhole, which is 4 inches. So I'll mark my 4 inches here. So I'll take my armhole curve and form the armhole. So I have my armhole. I hope you guys can see. My shoulder to my bust measurement is 10 inches. I'll mark my 10 inches here. My shoulder to waist measurement is 16 inches. And my shoulder to my hip measurement is 23 inches. So I'll draw horizontal lines on each. So I'll also mark out the full length of my dress, which is 38 inches. So I'll mark 38 inches here and I'll draw a straight line also. So the extra 2 inches is for folding at the base and also to join it at the top. So the next thing now is to mark my measurements on these lines. So my bust measurement now is 42 inches. 42 divided by 4 inches is 9.5 inches. And I'll be adding 2 extra inches to it. That is 11.5 inches. So I'll mark my 11.5 inches here. So for this style, I'll be skipping the waist measurements because I'm going to be connecting from the bust down to the hip. So my hip measurement is 11.5 inches. My hip measurement is 46 inches divided by 4. That is 11.5 inches. So I'll be adding 2 extra inches to it. That is 13.5 inches. Or let me just make it 14 inches. So I'll mark 14 inches here. So I'll take my straight ruler now and I'll join my bust point to my hip point, then I'll bring it. So this is what it looks like after connecting it. So right now I'll go ahead to cut out my neckline. For the wideness of my neck, I want it to be 4 inches wide. I want the wideness of my neckline to be 4 inches. So I'll mark 4 inches here. And also I want the depth for the back panel, I want it to be 1 inch or 1.5 inches in depth. Then for the front panel, I want it to be 3.5 inches in depth. So I'll form a curve first to the turn my fabric this way. So I'll form a curve. This is the back panel. Then for the front panel, I'll form another curve. So I'll take my shoulder slope, I'll come down by 1 inch here. Then I'll try a line cement it. So this is what it looks like. The next thing I'll do now is to cut out my fabric. So I'll start cutting from the back panel. I'll cut the back neckline first. So take the shoulder slope. So I'll go ahead now to cut. I'll separate the front and the back panel. Then I'll cut out the front neckline. This is the front panel of our dress. So the next thing now is to cut out the yoke. So I've gone ahead to also divide the back panel into 2 so that I'll be able to add my zip. So the next thing we are going to do now is to cut out the yoke. So for the yoke, you are going to determine the length you want by yourself depending on what you want. So for me, I want mine to be 6 inches. So I'll draw a straight line on the 6 inches mark. So you can make yours as low as 7 inches depending on how you want it. But for me, I'm going to be using 6 inches. So what I'll do now, I'll take my scissors and I'll cut out 6 inches. So I'll take this fabric now and I'll place it on the fabric I want to use as the yoke. So you can decide to cut out for both the front and the back panel. For me, I'll be cutting out for both front and back panel, but I'll be showing you guys how to do it for the front panel. So this is the closed side of the fabric. So what you're going to do now is to place this front piece, place it on the fabric, making sure the closed sides are together and the open side are also on the same side. So what I'll do now is that I'll be adding 1/2 inch extra to my yoke because of the joining, so that it won't truncate the full length of my dress. So instead of 6 inches here, I'll be making this one 6.5 inches. So I'll mark 6.5 inches here, so that when I'm cutting, I'll be adding extra 1/2 inch to my yoke. So I'll go ahead now and cut it out. So this is what the yoke looks like. So let me show you guys what it's going to look like on the on the dress. So this is what it's going to look like on the dress. So I'll be attaching it to the dress with the 1/2 inch sewing allowance I added to it. So I'll repeat the same process for the back panel, and I'll show you guys what. So I've cut out the yoke for the front panel and for the back panel, as you can see. So the next thing now is to attach our yoke to the dress. So I'll just take it and place right side facing each other like this. I'll take it to my sewing machine using the 1 inch sewing allowance I added to the yoke. I would run a straight stitch down. Then I'll do the same thing for the back panel. Then when I'm done with it, I'll show you guys the next thing. So guys, I've attached the yoke to the main fabric. So this is what it looks like for the front panel, and this is the back panel. I'm here to join it together. So the next thing I want to do now is to finish up the neckline and the armhole, and I'll be doing that using my bias strip. I'll be using black, so let me just run over. So on the right side of the fabric, I'll place the bias strip this way on it. Then I'll take it to my sewing machine and I'll sew it round. Then when I'm done sewing it, I will turn it over and sew it down on the other side. So I'll do that, repeat the same process for the armhole and do that for the back panel. So when I'm done with it, I'll show you guys what it looks like. So I'll finish the neckline for both the front panel and the back panel, and this is what it looks like. This is the front part and this is the back part. So you can see how neatly finished it is, the armhole and the neckline. So the next thing now is to attach our zip to the back panel before we join the two sides together. So to attach your zip, first of all you take note of where you want the zip to stop. So me, I want my zip to stop on the 20 inches mark. So I'll take my tape rule and mark out 20 inches. So I'll take my tape rule and mark out 20 inches from the top of the dress. So this is where 20 inches is. So what I'll do now is that I'll join both sides of the fabric and stop at this 20 inches point. So when I do that, I'll show you guys. So I've joined the fabric and stopped at the 20 inches point. So the next thing I'll do now is that I'll place the right side of my zip, this side. I'll place it on the fabric this way. Then I'll fold in this part into it. Then I'll take it to my machine and sew. And make sure you sew it close to the zip, close to the zip part, so that it won't bring out too much fabric when you are done with it. Make sure you sew very close to the zip so that there won't be excess fabric on the zip. So I'll take it to my sewing machine and sew it down. Then when I'm done with it, I'll put it in, turn it over to this side, then I'll sew it down. When I'm done with it, I'll show you guys what it looks like. So guys, I've attached the zip to the back panel. I've also gone ahead to join the shoulders together. Then I've also hemmed the base of the dress. So the next thing I'm going to show you guys now is how to cut the pockets. So I have this fabric, this scrap fabric here in four pieces. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to just place my hand on it this way. So depending on how big you want the pocket to be, so I'll just go ahead and draw out my hand. Remember, I'm cutting on 4 pieces of fabric. So I have something like this. So I'll take my scissors now and I'll cut it out. So the pockets depend on how big you want yours to be or how deep you want it to be. But for me, this size is okay. So I'll show you guys now how to be using this lace fabric to form a design in front of the dress. I'm going to find the center of this part. So I have 14 inches here. So the center will be 7 inches. So I'll mark 7 inches here. So I'll mark my 7 inches. So I'll take my ruler and draw a straight line down. So I've marked out the straight line down. So what I'm going to do is that I'll take this lace fabric now. I'll fold in the edges. I'll fold in the edges inside. Then I'll take it to my machine and I'll just gather it all through till I get to the base, and I'll use a straight stitch. So to attach our pocket, I'm going to come up by 3 inches from the hip line. So I'll mark it here. So I'll place the right side of the pocket facing the right side of the fabric this way. So I'll take my pin and hold it down. I've held it down with my pin. So I'll go to the other side too, and I'll mark out 3 inches above my hip line, which is 20 inches from my from my shoulder measurement. So I've attached the pockets to both sides, right side facing each other, then you attach it this way. So I'll take it to my sewing machine now and join the pockets to the fabric. I'll join all the 4 sides to the fabric. So when I've also attached the lace design in front of the fabric. So what I'm going to do now, after attaching the pocket to the dress, I'll take it this way. I'll fold it right side facing each other, take it to my sewing machine using the 1-inch sewing allowance. Using the 1-inch sewing allowance, I will just run a straight stitch down. When I get to this pocket point, I will come out this way. I will join the pockets together inside this way and run it straight down. Then I'll repeat the same thing for the other side. So when I'm done with the finished products, I'll show you guys. So I've joined both sides of the fabric together, the front panel and the back panel. So I'll be attaching this fabric to the dress at the sleeve points just to make it look stylish. And so I'll fold it into 2, like right side facing each other, and I'll turn it over. So after doing that, I will take it and place it just in between this yoke and the other fabric. I'll place it this way. That is after turning it over. I'll place it this way, then I'll run a straight stitch down. I'll do it for the front panel, I'll do it for the back panel, and I'll repeat the same thing for the other side. So when I'm done with the finished product of the dress, I'll show you guys what. So guys, this is the finished product of our A-line dress with yoke. So if you find this video useful, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and also leave a comment below. And if you're not subscribed to my channel, please kindly hit the subscribe button. See you in my next video. Bye.